got to ask you this first question. I mean, you left a lot of clues along the way for the book. I've not read it yet because it hasn't arrived here to me.
Okay.
Are you getting ready to retire? It surely seems like it.
No, but I recognize in this season that the stage is turning and making room for new leaders, training them, developing them. And I'm seeing so many of my generation expire. So many people expire, some retire, that just having a real frank discussion about the importance of being prepared to take the helm of leadership and really putting in the effort and the work that it takes to be proficient at ministry falls my lot to do. And I felt for some time felt called to really mentor and to develop those new leaders in ministry. And that started out to be my goal, was to codify preaching styles and explain with as much specificity as possible the relationship that I have with his word and how I use that gift that he's given me in explainable terminologies, which was quite challenging, actually. Quite challenging.
I'm going to take you back a little. We go back to when Paul Crouch was walking through his kitchen and noticed you on his TV screen there and saw and said, "Who is this guy?" And then went looking to find out who you were, praying just at a conference. A lot has changed just in preaching and communication style. I mean, you've changed, obviously. When you look back at that time, what would you have told yourself then on the journey you were about to start?
Ooh, that is such a good question.
Sorry to stop you there a little bit.
Yeah, that's such a good question. My first impulse would be to would not be printable. I was gonna joke. I was gonna joke and say, "Run!"
I get it. Some days I get it.
Yeah, run. But I don't think that I understood at that time what that level of ministry requires in terms of not so much what you do on the stage, but the many settings that it brings you into beyond the preaching moment, whether it is negotiating for property, for a building and meeting with bank boards, to settling community disputes, to dealing with the pandemic, to developing an proficiency at holding together such a diverse group of people. I did not foresee our country becoming so divided, which means our congregations are quite divided.
Yeah.
I did not foresee the many opportunities that life afforded me to do film. I just had 2 different films out of an anthology of 7 Deadly Sins with Lifetime, which put me in the entertainment world and meeting not so much with stars, but meeting with Lifetime, with Sony, with Fox, with a world with which I was not familiar, and developing the language to talk in other settings. You know, there has been such a interconnectivity between worlds. You get ready to do philanthropy, for example, and now you're in a board meeting with say, for example, the United Way or some other group of people that goes beyond Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, to feeding people, to dealing with the criminal justice system as we have with our Texas Offenders Reentry Initiative, where 30,000 formerly incarcerated inmates have gone through that program. Put me in a room to be talking to CEOs about hiring formerly incarcerated people. There were so many other things that came out of it beyond preaching the gospel and eating chicken and going home, you know.
I can't imagine. I gotta tell you, when I was just getting started, my wife, I was telling her, I was like, I didn't know if I had what it takes to do journalism, honestly, 5 years ago, and I didn't own a camera either. And so she said, "Well, I gotta tell you, I was reading a book by Bishop Jakes. He didn't own one either when he got started.
Right.
You're not him, so don't worry. It's gonna be okay." I can remember that clearly. She goes, and look what God did for him. That will happen to you. But she said, "You're gonna be okay."
You'll be fine. I didn't know anything about television, about streaming, about technology, about staff development, about human resources, about public relations. I just love God, and I love people, and I love to minister. But that is not enough, and that's kind of what the book is about developing the ability to be bilingual enough to speak in diverse settings effectively and articulate what the needs of the people are in the communities that you serve, to be able to respond to those kinds of needs. Took me into idioms of thought internationally. I had never traveled to Australia to minister to Australians and dealing with multiculturalism. I had never gone to Ghana or Nigeria or South Africa or Kenya then. I had not been behind the former Iron Curtain to Kiev and ministered in Kiev. I knew nothing about those types of settings. And then I found myself speaking for Martin Luther King Day for people like Toyota, and in settings, business settings. I spoke for a group called the National Association of Minority Dealership Associations. And so the worlds became so integrated. I did the King speech for the Martin Luther King Foundation. You find yourself in all of these different universes of thought and influence, from Fox to CNN to MSNBC. I ended up praying during the racial tensions on 2 different networks. To be able to steer through that many different arenas is the Great Commission, to go into all the world. And that requires the dexterity of the Apostle Paul, who became all things to all people that he might win some. I had no idea, but I am the richer for it. It's not a complaint. I had my own daytime talk show and was in the homes of America and mainstream television, where they pay you instead of you paying them, like TBN and the other Christian networks. It has, to be honest with you, it has been the most enriching, educational, challenging, exciting, intimidating, terrifying experience of my life, while I raised 5 children
at the same time.
At the same time, and been married, 39 years, and to have that flexibility. All of my children are grown now, but they were small when you and I started talking, and to go through all of that and still be standing here. I want to talk to people about the universality of leadership, put you in arenas where I did an interview with Randall Stevenson, for example, from AT&T, and started discussing, talking them into hiring formerly incarcerated inmates. Just many examples like that, where being a good preacher was not enough. you had to be a good thinker and be able to articulate in different levels and talk about metrics and the return on their investments into urban communities and those types of conversations. One moment I am comforting a grieving widow whose spouse has died in the pandemic, and the next minute I'm on the phone with a CEO, and the next minute I'm preparing a sermon, and the next minute I'm having an interview like this.
Yeah.
And it is a different tone and texture. It was so, to be honest with you, it was so refreshing to do an interview with somebody who prayed before it started. When I'm CBS Today Show, and I've done all of that, and I do all of that, and we need to do all of that. Right now, the world is in crisis.
It definitely.
And it's in turmoil. We can't stay in the hollowed walls.
Yeah.
The virus shut down the walls for 400 days for us. And all of a sudden the world became your only pulpit. And all of those demands and challenges and needs, when I wrote Drop the Mic, I wanted to speak to minorities of all types.
Yeah.
And say language is important. Articulation is important. In a world, think about this, in a world that reduces the artistry of language to an emoji.
Wow. I've never thought about, Bishop Jakes, we are in such a crucial time right now.
Right.
At the trial that's coming down
right
this week. We're in a pandemic, financial issues are going on. When you were writing this book, how did that play into how you could help teach us how to communicate better? Is that a fair question?
It's a very excellent question, and it is exactly what happened. While I was writing this book, the world exploded. In a way, it had exploded in my lifetime. And there is I worry because there is a tribalism returning to the world. And I think contributing factors include you can watch the news of your choice. So truth becomes a variable. Depending on, you can select the truth that reinforces the ideas that you have. If I start Googling model cars, all of a sudden my phone will start sending me more information about model cars without me asking for it.
Yeah.
So if I have an idea, the phone reinforces that idea to the chagrin of every other idea. And suddenly all of a sudden I think this is right and everybody thinks this way because the machines we created are now teaching us the information we selected. That wasn't like that when I started.
It is unreal. And here we sit in a post-Christian culture. Bishop Jakes, many would say that, with less than half the country who's a member of a church.
Right.
How can the church, how can pastors, how can ministry leaders, how can they communicate better to a post-Christian culture? Which I was going through the research of your book here, and you pretty much lay it all out from here's how you can speak better to here's how you can communicate better with people. So how can we do better as a body of Christ at attracting people or reaching people, better yet, who are far from God?
First, I'm not sure that I buy into the notion that it is a post-Christian area.
Okay.
No, libraries have lost a lot of their constituency, but that doesn't mean that people have stopped reading.
That's so true.
Okay?
That's so
it's
true.
just that they're going different places to get their information. Now we Google things. We used to go in the library and sit for hours and read, materials and books and galleys to get. Big box stores have given away to Amazon.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that people aren't buying product. It used to be if anybody came to church, I could see them. Now I have more people streaming, even before the pandemic, than I had in the building. So people have changed the way they ingest information. So the question in the stats about a post-Christian era says, how often do you go to church? It didn't say how often do you stream.
Wow.
And so we come to a conclusion that it's a post-Christian era based on an antiquated ideology about how people ingest information. And I think, and so I don't buy, I think that people are hungrier than ever before. I know for a fact our ministry contact reaches more people every week than it ever has in my entire life, every Sunday morning. Some are Zooming in, some are streaming in, some are coming in, but they're not all just sitting in a building, and we don't ring the bell out front on Sunday, and we don't have dinner after service, and Mahalia Jackson isn't singing, and we're not waving Martin Luther King fans. But that doesn't mean that we're in a post-Christian area. It does mean that we are in an area of life that requires more innovation. And it does mean that we have to come to the stages of life that are available to us to speak to. There I am on MSNBC, and the news reporter asked me, would I pray for the nation? Wow. And I led the nation in prayer on a secular station. And Lacan can give you the details about it, but I've done that on CNN. I did that during 9/11. I think that we have to retool how we train leaders for contemporary society. This is not just about light shows and skinny jeans. It's not about Christian colloquialisms in the public square are not well understood. I can't get on a main stage and talk about the anointing and people know what that means. What is that? And being able to, and I'm not sure that we're not in the best place we've ever been. But if you will remember, the early church wanted to stay in Jerusalem.
Right.
And they got scattered abroad to go into all the world, and God shook them out of their nest. And I think we've been shaken out of our nest to go into areas that we have not been trained to speak in. And when you think about the sheer power of, for example, now I'm not doing book signings because of the virus. Yeah. But I'm going doing events in Clubhouse. And you understand what I'm doing?
Incredible. Yeah, I do know what Clubhouse is.
Yeah. So the Clubhouse didn't
for that one.
Yeah, I'm doing events in Clubhouse, and quite frequently getting ready to do another one. Those types of things put you on a different kind of platform, and the versatility and the dexterity that's needed of speech to be able to articulate in a world of people who have different sensibilities and sensitivities is critical. And so critical. I think this is the most important, hard to write book I've ever offered, because we cannot say, oh, it's a post-Christian society, you know, it is what it is, and drop the mic. We should be more engaged than ever before.
I can't wait to read it. Like, I did all this research in the past 3 or 4 days, so I'm still looking forward to getting a hard copy. Next to last question, what did you learn about you by writing this book? Because you're a great communicator. So I mean, I can't wait to read it, because I love to communicate also. So I'm literally like going, where is the package here?
Right. So we got to make sure you get one immediately.
I know I'm going to get one, which is so, I feel so prepared, because I usually like coming when I'm interviewing you, haven't already read the book, to be honest with you. What did you learn about you in this process?
Oh my gosh. Whew, you're quite the interviewer. I forgot.
Sorry to keep
I forgot. No, I love that. I love that. You make the person think.
I'm sorry.
I learned how. No, that's a compliment. I learned how to override fear and insecurity and walk into places and doors and opportunities that I had never walked in before. I learned how to keep the message, but change the method in order to reach further into the opportunities that were available to me. I learned how to be multiplicitous in the way that I communicate, depending on the stage, without losing my core values and my core message.
Yeah.
I have learned age has seasoned me.
Wow.
Death has seasoned me. Losing loved ones, raising children. You understand?
I gotta get that one.
You understand?
I do get that one. It does.
See, I lost my mother. I lost my mother-in-law. My father was already dead when we talked before. I lost all of my aunts and all of my uncles, all of my grandparents. I steered through all of that tornado of grief and didn't drop the mic.
Yeah.
And didn't drop the mic. I raised my children. That's a big story about that. And didn't drop the mic. Now my daughters are preaching.
They're doing a good job.
Yeah, they're doing really well.
They're doing a great job.
But getting them there was such journey. It did not look like it was going to be that way. And I didn't drop the mic. I built schools. I built houses for our community, affordable, attainable homes, hundreds and hundreds of homes, and didn't drop the mic. That means I was meeting with general contractors, land developers, city council, the mayor, and still speaking that language, and then speaking this language, and then talking about infrastructure, and then talking about Mephibosheth. The versatility and the agility of having to be so very, very ambidextrous in my approach to speech is the catalyst from which this book emanates. And now we live in a generation of people who are called, and you said something a minute ago that I thought was quite profound. It is a question that we all carry down inside that either fuels us or sends us home. And that is the question, am I enough?
Wow.
That is that
It fuels us or sends us home.
Yes, yes.
That is
that uncertainty. Am I enough? Can I do this? Can I handle this? That question right there, this book heads off that question and says, you are if you pray enough, you are if you're exposed to different settings, you are if you hone your skills. As the stage play Hamilton says, you're going to be in the room where it happens. Wow. I've been in the room in the White House, in the Oval Office, through 3 different administrations, both Democrat and Republican. To be in the room where it happens and to be able to steer through that. Spoken for at the National Day of Prayer, spoken for the National Cathedral. Being in the room where it happens can take you places you have never been, and so I wrote the book to prepare the next generation for the global impact my messages are now translated into 48 different languages every Sunday. So, yes, so now it used to be when you walked out and saw the crowd, you saw the congregation. Now you've got people listening at you in Japan. And it's not just me, lots of pastors are getting people who are listening at them on army
All around
bases
the world.
in
All around
Saigon.
the world.
Yeah, South America. And so because we have become so interconnected through technology, your ability to, what is funny in America may not be funny in Nigeria.
Easily.
You understand?
Easily.
What is funny in Kenya may not be funny in Australia. And to develop the ability to communicate with a broad world of atheists, agnostics, Democrats, Republicans, Muslims, all types of people, you can't control who logs in.
You have no clue. That's what. The reason why I'm looking for reading the book is because communication is coming in so many different directions now.
Yeah.
That we don't have any clue over. Last one, this one's quick. This one's really quick. Miss Jakes, this one's easy. Did she enjoy the book?
that is an easy question. Yes, I think she very much enjoyed the book.
I'm pretty sure she did.
Yeah, I think she very much enjoyed the book, and the, what is the word I'm looking for? The cathartic effect it had on me benefited her, because when you write a book, it's always quite cathartic.
It is.
And I think she enjoyed the book, and I think she enjoyed the journey I went on writing it during a pandemic where we were sheltering in place for a year, and restaurants closing, places going out of business, and she and I are shut up in this house.
Man.
At a time like we have never been in the history of our marriage.
And this time with no kids.
Yeah, and that's quite a different experience. Yeah, and this time much older. So the whole dynamics have changed.
It's changed. I really cannot wait to the no kids in my own house.
Yeah. Men love it. Men love it.
Mr. Jakes, I gotta tell you two things real quick. Number one, I wish you and your wife would write a book on parenting. I really do think you got some steps there.
Yes.
We all need to learn from, seriously.
Yes.
So
yes.
That's my next break.
It would definitely be a thriller.
The second thing is,
it would be in the suspense section of the bookstore.
The second thing is, can you please be praying for me? I'm writing a book on a guy named The Life of Howard Hendricks, who's a teacher there at Dallas Theological Seminary. And he mentored Tony Evans, taught him, Andy Stanley, who I'll be with tomorrow, by the way,
wow.
David Jeremiah. So you just be praying, because it's one of those kind of books I'm excited about doing on the life of somebody, but at the same time being Black and in that space.
Right.
Jakes, if this makes sense.
Yes.
Me sometimes.
Yes, I walked into Hillsong the first time to 40 or 50,000 people, and almost all of them were either Asian or white, and Australian to boot. We were the only ones that had on suit jackets in the entire stadium, and I was the keynote speaker in that setting. So I will be praying. I understand, and you understand multiculturalism and all of the things that we don't talk about when we walk into those settings during a trial that is so racially charged that the whole nation is thinking about race differently. What you're doing is precisely why I wrote the book, because you're having to do what you do in different streams of water.